Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again.
The past year or so has seen way too many people pass way too young. This latest one, however, hits me personally the hardest. On November 7th, the world lost a great man, father, friend, mentor, and leader with the passing of me and Gene Conselyea. I had the pleasure of knowing Gene for about 20 years. We hit it off when I was in media and he'd call on me. I remember going to ball games with him and his colleagues and thinking, man, this is such a cool guy. It was 2006, not long after starting his first company, Triple Threat Media. Gene approached me about joining him. As we all know, he was quite a good salesman, and I ended up taking a leap of faith that I've never regretted once in my life. For a couple of years, it was just Gene and I got to know just how smart he was, not just how smart he was, but how funny, caring, and genuine a man he was. He'd take care of me. He'd let me sleep on his couch when I had too much to drink. When I'd throw my back out playing basketball with him and his kids in his driveway, he'd put me on a sled and drag me into his house. He bought me my first nice suit, my first good pair of golf clubs, gave me all the old ugly ties he didn't want anymore. I still wear them to this day. He even gave me the home run ball that he caught when we went to a Phillies game together in 2008. That was pretty cool, and that was just the kind of guy Gene was. He taught me everything I know about the sales game, both good and bad. He'd always tell me, John, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life. Fortunately, I listened to almost everything he told me. Not everything. But he was a great man. One of the things he'd always say was people buy from people they know and that they like. And no one sold more than Gene, which is a testament to how well liked he was. He was a workhorse. No one worked harder than him, but he always liked to play hard as well. In the early days when we traveled together, we always found time to do fun things, like we'd go to the ESPN Zone in Chicago and have a one-on-one corporate challenge, which was a series of games like shooting free throws, throwing footballs, shooting hockey pucks. He was crazy competitive, and these games would go on for hours. He always knew how to put a smile on your face or make you laugh. He was incredibly immature, but in the best of ways. He'd hide stuff in your bag, send you inappropriate jokes. If you walked away from your computer for a minute to go to the bathroom, you'd come back to God knows what happening on your screen. That was Gene. Even after we parted ways as colleagues, we still kept in touch. He almost got me arrested when he visited me and my family in Point Pleasant, New Jersey a few years ago. He poured 2 beers into clear plastic cups to walk on the boardwalk, saying it was no big deal, until the cops begged to differ. But Gene talked us out of it like he always could. I was so proud to see all of Gene's success in business, and I wasn't surprised at all by the amazing turnout at his wake and funeral, which were both standing room only. He had a million friends and impacted the lives of so many. The funeral had so many fun and hysterical stories of Gene over the years, from his kids and family and close friends from childhood through today. I wanted to pay a special tribute to Gene, and I asked a few of his close friends from the industry to put together some words, whatever they wanted to say about the man who impacted their lives. Here's what some people had to say.
I've known Gene since 1993. I think that was his first foray into the medical publishing industry. We worked together at a company called Excerpta Medica. And Gene and I not only worked together, but became good friends right from the start. We worked together for, I want to say, 2 to 3 years before we parted ways business-wise, but still remain really close and tight friends. Quite frankly, over the last 30 years, keeping in touch regularly, meeting up semi-regularly throughout the year. But I know this is about telling a story about Gene, and quite frankly, there's too many stories, and most of them aren't really appropriate for public consumption. But what I will say is Gene was, he was a great storyteller. And if anyone has, been in the presence of Gene and him telling one of his stories, you're usually thinking he was generally full of shit. But to hang out with Gene on the numerous occasions that I have, you realize that the crazy things that he talks about in his stories are actually true. And he'd say, yeah, a lot of times he was a catalyst for those crazy things, but oftentimes he was not. So crazy just seemed to be, he was a magnet for crazy things happening. So I'm going to miss the stories. I'm going to miss the phone calls. I'm going to miss the talks. I'm going to miss the meeting up. But anyway, Gene, rest in peace, buddy. We're going to miss you.
Gene was one of a kind. We met in 2001 when I started working at PMI. He took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, went on tons of sales calls together, and we really had a lot of fun. When GPS was not even a thing, I was a Long Island person coming to New Jersey, so I was always lost. I'd always pick up the phone, I would call Gene, and he would direct me. All right, go this way, go that way, take this parkway. So it would always make me laugh, but he got me to the right place. Anyway, Gene, you're gone, you're not forgotten. You'll be very missed.
What can you say about Gene? He was the best. I still can't fathom that he's no longer with us. He truly was a great friend, a great partner, and a great mentor. I learned so much from him. I still struggle every day to find out how we're gonna move forward without him. But as they always say, God takes the best ones first, and we know he's upstairs having a ball, laughing it up, and waiting for us all to come up there to visit him.
Gene, I still can't believe you're gone. In your short 53 years, you squeezed more out of life than most people would if they made it to 100. Working with you for 12 years was definitely a roller coaster. Sometimes you were my boss, sometimes a father figure, a brother, and occasionally, and often actually, my child. We didn't always agree, but we always found common ground through jokes and our shared love of sarcasm. I have so many ridiculous stories about you that will stay with me forever. One of my favorite memories of you is from our AMC holiday parties where we had them in Atlantic City. You always broke out that fancy brown suede jacket that we made fun of you for, but you loved it and we loved mocking you. You were so proud of hosting the night and celebrating your employees and your company. Then there was Take Your Kid to Work Day, another highlight of the year. You insisted on getting that ice cream truck in our parking lot and the kids loved it, but I think you loved it the most. My daughter still talks about the ice cream truck and thinks that we got one weekly for our work. Gene, you are truly one of a kind, a big heart hidden behind that tough exterior. We'll miss you, buddy. Bye, friend.
The first thing I think of when I think of Gene is usually our trips, both before and after I worked for him. We met in 2006. I was a media buyer, he was a sales rep, and essentially we hit it off right away, just mostly because we never talked a single thing about business in that first meeting. We only talked about gambling on football. And I think that was one of the binding relationships that I would have over the last 20 years that revolved or started, I guess, or in the context of work, but quickly turned into the context of friendship. And it goes without saying that I had a lot of great times with Gene on our trips to Puerto Rico or New Orleans or Vegas, and most of those nights ended at a blackjack table with a lot more laughs than money. But I think that my favorite part about Gene was the phone calls in between, the preparation for those trips, or the recap of what we had just experienced. It's hard to put into words that the feeling that I won't get that ever again. But for what I got, I'm very thankful.
I had the opportunity to first meet with Gene at Nexus, which is very dear and near to my heart, back in 2010. I was looking for a job, and you know, in Gene fashion, okay, let's meet. I'm tall, and it's Nexus, and you know, let's get together. So that's when we first met one another, and I've had the pleasure of working for him for about 10 years, and I have to say that the world will miss the energy, the vision that Gene had. I have to say that the learned experiences, the journey with being the second person in line at the time, Triple Threat, now AMC, has taught me a lot because there was no structure. Like any small company that's growing, there's no structure. You're everything. And Regine, you were everything. And I think the funniest moments that I can reflect on that really define the Gene aspect, the Gene way of doing things without, you know, any fear. I think the best description is that he's a risk taker, and it worked for him. So I would ask him, hey, congratulations on the new win, the society, what did you promise them? And he would say, well, we're going to launch a tabloid. They presently have a journal, and we're going to go out with a tabloid. And I was, well, when are we publishing it? January. Gene, it's October. And he would respond so calmly, well, I'm thinking of 2 people for an editor. Call these 3 people for an ad. I met them at a conference, and I know that they would want to advertise. This is in context with the discussion. And indeed, I called them, and they were interested. And of course, indeed, it mailed in January with an editor, with everything that he thought, and he pulled it together, and he pulled it together in the most calm way, in the most, you know, beautiful, if I could say beautiful to something that's describing, because it was always orchestrated in such a fashion that everyone did more, whether it was the art department led by, at the time, Ari and Eric and whatnot. Everybody did so much, and they did it willingly. We all did, you know, John and myself, we wanted to execute because we were proud of the company that was growing, the energy that was going on, the people that were joining the team. And for me, that really is the reflection that I have of AMC and of Gene.
Just a tribute to Gene. The first day I met him, he gave me his entire client list and said, here's a bunch of people to call and tell them Gene sent you. And I did, and I was enormously successful. And I thought to myself, what a great guy, and what a great company to work with if I get to work with Gene every day. And then fast forward 25 years later, the last time I spoke to him, you know, I asked him for career advice. He gave me an hour on the phone, told me all the vendors and customers I could call, and said, hey, tell them Gene sent you. They'll absolutely take care of you. And I did. And so from the first day I met him to the last day I spoke with him, he was fantastic to me, and wonderful friend, wonderful guy, and he will truly be missed.
I honestly can't believe I'm creating this video about my good dear friend, Gene Conselyea. I've known him 24 years. I met him during our old medical world days, and he was just always so supportive, especially during my early career days, always forthcoming with information about accounts or contacts. Of course, he wanted me to share with him too. Brainstorming about ideas, new concepts, new products to launch, navigating the various societies that we both worked with. And he would pick my brain for ideas, I would pick his brain for ideas, and he just was always so helpful. So many of us have lost our jobs or looked for other opportunities in this industry, and he always put out a hand to help, find a job or put in a good word for you wherever your path might be. I'm going to miss seeing him at all of our industry events or the major medical conferences that we attend, especially ASH that's coming up shortly. I'm going to miss his smile, that infectious laugh that he had. I'm going to miss my friend. And I can't believe, like I said, I'm creating this video, but I'm really going to miss him and all the amazing things that he did for our industry.
So it's hard to sum up in just a minute the impact that Gene had on my life. But I'd say, we had a lot of amazing memories of traveling together, to building new business concepts together, to doing mergers and acquisitions. And the most important thing I would think about Gene is just he's someone that always pushed you, and I can say specifically pushed me out of my comfort zone into growing into my potential, into being a better leader, better colleague, a better friend. And we had a lot of opportunities to help each other grow in different ways, and I really valued that relationship and think of many conversations. But at the end of the day, he was also the most loyal business partner and friend that you could ever ask for, and I'm grateful for him and for his impact and influence in my life. And he's a special person in that respect. And on just another personal level, the thing I'll always remember is that when Erin, my wife, and I were going to get engaged, he was just quick to say, "Hey, let's go into the city." And he helped me pick out the engagement ring. And, he shared stories about going through that process himself. And just, he just acted like a big brother in that moment. And I really value that, and just the influence he's had on my family and on me. And I'll think about him a lot and miss him a lot. So God bless, and much love to his family.
So everyone, I just wanted to come on and just honor Gene and tell a few funny stories. But first want to come out and say I was honored to know him for 20 years and call him a friend. And I worked for AMC for 12. And he really did make AMC and TTM great again. As you can see by the hat. I mean, who else would have a hat like that? It's just the way Gene is. So a couple funny stories. Him and I were neighbors, and I played flag football pretty much every week. And one day I asked him to come out and play, and he came down, but it looked like he just rolled out of bed. He was, he had softball pants on. I know he loves the softball, but he had like softball pants on. He had like his softball socks. I think he was wearing baseball gloves. He just didn't look like, I don't think he was wearing cleats. And guys were like, "Dude, can this guy play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this guy can play." And sure enough, Gene, you were an absolute beast, as you are with any sport that I've played with you. You were just a great athlete. But I did find it really, really funny. You were a hot mess when you came down to the field, but you played so well. So that was funny. Another funny story is whenever we would travel on a plane, as in a group, he would go around and he would look to see who fell asleep first and take pictures of that person, whether it was with their tongue out or them drooling, and then he would send it out to the team or to the company, and he just thought that was hysterical. And then one last memory, funny memory I wanted to share was we were at a conference, either in San Diego or San Francisco, and went out for dinner. Then we went to a bar or a club, and he goes, "I gotta go to the ATM." So we're like, "All right, no problem." Half hour passes, an hour passes, 2 hours pass. We're like, "Where the hell's Gene?" Turns out he went to his hotel room. He was done. He bailed, but he didn't want to tell us he was leaving. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to the ATM." So to this day, I still use that term. I'm going to the ATM when I want to leave somewhere. But there's so many memories of him. Again, I appreciate everything you did for me and my family. Honor to call you a friend, and I'm gonna miss you terribly. And I love you, man.
Thank you, Gino, for everything you've done for all of us. You'll be incredibly missed, but your legacy will live on forever. And the next generation of Conselyas are already kicking ass in the industry. That's so awesome to see. A big thank you to all of Gene's friends who sent in videos. There are countless others who sent their best wishes and love, but just couldn't pull it together to be on camera. Thanks to them as well. If anybody else wants to send a tribute to Gene, feel free to send it to me, and I'll post what I can. Rest in peace, me and Gene. We love you.
Oh, I could hide it rains and I rise, wipe the sleep out of my eyes. My shaven razor's cool and it stings. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? You once thought of me as a white knight on your steed. Now you know how happy I can be. Oh, and our good time starts and ends without our loved one to spend. But how much, baby, do we really need? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream